team co-host Chris Camelo. What up, Chris?
Go!
Yeah, the World Cup is here. But this is the NBA basketball show. We love the World Cup. Go Team USA, USA, USA. I'll be watching on Friday. That performance last week was great. I am loving the World Cup. I got it on right now. Colombia's up over Uzbekistan 2-1. It's been an amazing time.
Oh, and Chaez also made a lot of money because Spain was point shaving against Cape Verde. You want to talk about that,
Chaez? I did not make any money on that, you dirty dog, you. But I did have quite a bit of money, Chris, on the NBA Finals. And it was, you hit on the under, you hit on, if you bet Knicks spread on every game, you were up. Unit over unit, game over game. It was a low-scoring affair in most games as well, because you had the unanimous Defensive Player of the Year along with Karl Anthony Towns and those tough-ass Knickerbockers. The New York Knicks are now NBA champions. I'm not going to do it. Don't do it. Don't do it, Chris. Don't do it. Start spreading the news.
I'm leaving.
All right.
Today.
All right. All right.
Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something about this championship. 53 years ago, Richard Nixon was still president of the United States, right?
Wow.
There was no such thing, just off the top of my head, because I'm also a history buff. There was no such thing as a cell phone. There were barely any such things as computers. And if there were, they were helping a man land on the moon, not in the convenience of our home, 18 inches wide. It had been a minute. And Chaez, you and I in our lifetime, we have seen some incredible historic streaks come to an end. The 2004 Boston Red Sox, 86 year, gap in World Series championships. The Chicago Cubs, 2016, 108 years. Even the Dodgers, a lot of people are like, oh, LA, they're spoiled. Not Dodger fans. No, we had to wait 32 years for the 2020 championship, right?
Right.
Yeah, 32 years. And then another 4 years after that to get one that nobody could put an asterisk on. So we have seen some incredible streaks come to an end. Even the Chicago White Sox, when they wanted to know in 2005, I think it had been like 90-something years since like 1919 or something. Yeah, so we have seen some incredible streaks come to an end. And the New York Knicks, I got to say, I wasn't hating on them because I like the structure of their team. You can't not like Jalen Brunson, OG Anunoby, Hart, a former Laker, how hard they played. Even Mike Brown, I still got a soft spot for, even though his tenure with the Lakers wasn't that good. They found a way to win all 4 of those games, which honestly, Chaez, let's be honest, they should have lost at least 3 of those games in this series. So shout out to the Knicks. Jalen Brunson willed that team in the fourth quarter. OG Anunoby was fantastic throughout the series. He could have easily won Finals MVP. Karl Anthony Towns, even though he fouled out in that game, played great defense on Wembanyama. Josh Hart, Landry Shamet, Mikal Bridges. Everyone felt like at one point or another in this playoff run for the Knicks left their fingerprints on this title run, and it's well-deserved. And I hate to say this, Chaez, congratulations to James Dolan, because what he finally did was hire a competent front office and get out of the way. Leon Rose and Worldwide West, I had my doubts because of the catastrophes that were Phil Jackson, Scott Perry, Steve Mills, but they put together the right mix, and it took them a couple of years, but they eventually got this team not just back on track, but now NBA champs. Your thoughts, sir?
Oh, man, so many thoughts. I'm really the one that sticks out the most is Karl Anthony Towns. I'm actually happier for Karl Anthony Towns than anybody else. If you think about Karl Anthony Towns' reputation and where he was and where it really took a hit,
Amen,
was after that practice with Jimmy Butler that got Jimmy Butler sent out of Minnesota to Philadelphia when Jimmy Butler took like the third stringers and the G Leaguers and beat the starters. And Karl Anthony Towns was obviously one of those guys. And his reputation kind of, went through a rough patch for years, before Anthony Edwards came along, right?
Right.
And and then, it got better and they started winning more, and now he's on the Knicks, and you can't think of a better position to be in, to be a Knick that brings home the championship for the first time in over a half century. So for him, and he actually played the best in most games except for the closeout game where Jalen Brunson was obviously Jalen Brunson. And obviously Cat got in the foul trouble in that game before that Anunoby tipped in that epic shot. You really thought at one point that Anunoby could be finals MVP as well as he played as well. But it all comes down to a guy like Jalen Brunson. I'm not going to even mention guys like Alvarado and Josh Hart in terms of how big of a role they played, because that just goes
Mitch
without
Robinson.
saying.
Yeah.
Mitch Robinson. Yeah, exactly. Mitch Robinson.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Even Landry Shamet, Deuce McBride to a lesser degree as well.
Sure.
But it's just that team is a legendary team, especially for that city. So very, very happy for the entire organization. Happy for Mike Brown as well. The guy who, you know, everybody's perspective is different, but I know Mike Brown is the guy who got fired from the Kobe death stare. You know, that's how I don't know Mike Brown any other way, because you see this guy here. I'm locked in on his career mostly,
right.
Coming up, and obviously he coached LeBron James before he coached Kobe Bryant, but it was just a time that just stuck out to me. And then he got fired after De'Aaron Fox, ironically, made a bad play.
Right.
He commented on it when he was at the Kings, and De'Aaron Fox ironically made a series of bad plays. I don't know if Karl Anthony Towns could look better. Who looks better, Chris? Honestly, just a quick question.
Yeah, good.
Does Karl Anthony Towns look better than De'Aaron Fox looks bad? Or does De'Aaron Fox look worse than Karl Anthony Towns looks good? Like,
I think it's Fox. Fox had a
disparity.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go with the latter on that, partner. And I'm glad you brought that up. First of all, I just want to comment on Mike Brown. That was a ballsy decision. Tom Thibodeau, as weird as this may sound, one of the most successful New York Knicks head coaches in the history of the franchise. He's not quite on Van Gundy's level or Pat Riley, because both of those guys led the team to the finals. But there was a lot of winning that he did while he was there. And I think they only missed the playoffs once under him. And, had he been more willing to back off a little bit, increase the bench time, take a little pressure off Brunson's shoulders, who knows? Maybe it's him still with the job and him with the championship. But Mike Brown came in, lightened things up a little bit. Still a hard-nosed coach when it comes to defense and everything. But I think what the difference was with Brown, and I think the things that helped him, those years as an assistant with Golden State, seeing how Steve Kerr operated, seeing how you could win in a more modern NBA setting, and incorporating that. And we started to see a foundation of that with the Sacramento Kings. And when you look at the Knicks, to me, they weren't that far away from winning a championship. They just needed to increase their depth, utilize the increased depth, take some pressure off Brunson's shoulders. And sure enough, there was a pathway this year to get to the finals and ultimately win it. And you can't say that Mike Brown didn't have a lot to do with that. But like I said, the foundation was already in place. I just think Brown was willing to turn the keys over to the players, whereas Thibodeau was unwilling to do that. And I think his biggest strength, which is his attention to detail and his intensity, was also his biggest weakness. So that's what I wanted to comment on. The other thing, too, was De'Aaron Fox. Horrendous series. Do I think he deserves to be traded, though? No, I don't. And the fact is you can't trade him anyway. 4 years, 220 something million on the payroll for the next 4 years. No one's going to want to take that on. The only way you get Fox past this is rebuilding his value and instilling trust in him. Because even though he's the more veteran guy on this squad outside of Olynyk, Biyombo, and Harrison Barnes, and I guess you could say Mason Plumlee, the fact is this was a new experience for him. And as we've seen through the history of the NBA, Chaz, anybody could have a bad series. Ask Magic Johnson in '84. Ask Julius Erving in 1980. Ask Larry Bird in 80, 87 and 85 against the Lakers. Ask Michael Jordan. Ask Scottie Pippen, David Robinson, Hakeem, Ewing, Malone, Stockton. Chaz, Should the Jazz have traded Karl Malone and John Stockton for losing the 97 finals?
Look, man, we're not even going to entertain that. You don't trade guys that you give up assets for and then pay. You don't do that.
Yeah.
You don't trade guys you give max deals to thinking that you're going to get somebody that is an equal or better talent. It very rarely happens. So that's why we'll get to it. Giannis is still a buck to this day, even though they want to get that resolved before the draft, which is next week. So at the end of the day, no, De'Aaron Fox is not going to be traded, even though he had a bad series. That's not what you do. Now, if he continues to struggle and the team isn't as good, then you have to make different concessions. But just based off of just that series and that series alone, no, I would disagree with that. Getting to the other side really quick, I just want to address this, Chris, because there's just so much talk about it. So I just want to kind of address it. Where does Jalen Brunson rank all time now? Because he's a Finals MVP. He's won a ring.
Yeah,
he's only one of 5 guys that have ever put up 42 or more points in a closeout title game.
Yeah.
By the way, you know who the other 4 were?
Michael Jordan.
45 against Utah in 98.
Yeah.
Magic. 42 against
1980.
Philly.
Yes, 1980 finals. Wilt.
Giannis 50 ball.
Oh, that's right. Giannis in 2021 against Phoenix, game 6. Yeah.
Game 6. And you wouldn't get this last one. I had to look it up. But
Wilt?
Rick Barry.
No kidding. Oh, with the 75 Warriors, right? No, was it 75?
Rick Barry against the Bullets.
No, I know, but what team was he playing for? The Warriors, right?
Yeah.
Okay. 75? I'm thinking it was 1975.
I'm sorry. No, it's not. It's not Rick Barry. It's damn it. What's his name? I just pulled it up. Chris.
Jeez. Fail, Chaz. Yeah. You're failing, Seymour. What is it about you and failure?
Sorry. Bob Pettit.
Okay, that makes a little more sense. Well, he might have played with Rick Barry, but Rick Barry, I wouldn't have been surprised. Rick Barry was a sensational talent in the 70s and whatnot. So wow, and I'm really surprised Wilt wasn't one of them from like 1959 when he beat the Celtics. No. Wow,
he did not have over 40 in a closeout title game. Closeout title games are very, very hard to have good games in those, and the fact that Jalen Brunson did the way that he has is.
And by the way, Jordan only did it once. I looked that up. Out of the 6 titles, he only did it once, and that was in 98 with 45. You look at the other closeout games, he had one of them, he had 22, one of them he had 32. So you would think Jordan would have done that a few different times. He didn't. Kobe Bryant never did it. And Shaq never did it, which is really surprising as well. So it just goes to show you how difficult it is to be that great in a closeout game. And Jalen Brunson put that team on his shoulders, man. I was not sure how he was going to fare against those the length and the athleticism and the youth and the intensity of guys like Dylan Harper and Stephon Castle and even Julian Champagnie. But he found, once again, the great thing about Jalen Brunson is he finds a way. Now, going back to your question, where does he rank all time? I think if he's not on the top 75 list, I think he's awfully close to it, because right now he's heading into 2014 Kawhi Leonard territory, to me, is where he's at right now. As far as overall success.
Is he automatically in the top 75, Chris?
No. Sorry.
Really?
Yeah. I can't bump Dame off of that. Or any of the other legends of the game. That's not fair. We can't be a prisoner of the moment either, bro. I'm just saying. We could have made the same argument with Shea last year. And Shea's got 2 league MVPs.
Shea is definitely a top 75 player of all time.
Okay, maybe Shea is.
There's no. I don't care who you bump. There's no question that a 2-time MVP Jokic is a top 7. Like, there are players that have come since the 75 anniversary team was announced that are now 75. Now, who you have to bump is a completely different conversation. But Jokic,
fair enough.
Jokic and
Shea
are most definitely Brunson, just based off of what he's done alone in his career, even compared to somebody as great as Walt Frazier.
Yeah.
Like, if Walt Frazier was a top 75 player, then what is Brunson? Absolutely, he is.
Well,
in my opinion.
Clyde was also a 2-time champion as well, and he ushered in an era, a different era of playing basketball from the point guard position, too. So you also have to think about the impact that a guy like him had. That a guy like Walt has.
What do you think the impact Jalen Brunson is going to? Jalen Brunson might have as big of an impact as Allen Iverson in terms of how the game is played for smaller players coming up, moving forward.
For sure.
So,
but even Iverson has a league MVP. I mean, some of those things matter.
But no finals MVP and no ring. It's so hard to come by.
Sure.
That you have to automatically bump certain guys just based off, because the whole game, the whole point of this whole thing, the reason that we love this thing of ours, Chris, this thing of ours here, that is this league, right, is winning. And that's the whole point. So I just want to just really quick.
It's a very interesting question, but we also have to be careful not to be prisoner of the moment. Is just what I would caution you and anyone else trying to have this conversation today to, think about it in a full objective context, not just what just happened last week.
I just cannot believe that I think it's the lowest hanging fruit possible.
Okay.
4 days removed from this, and you can't say if Jalen Brunson is a top 75 player of all time.
Not confidently, no.
Bill Simmons has him above Steve Nash, Jason Kidd, Sam Jones, Harden, George Gervin, and Luka Doncic.
Okay.
Brunson,
that's his opinion. That's his opinion.
How many of those guys would you say that he's above?
I didn't watch Sam Jones play. So I have a hard time, doing that. You could maybe make an argument for Nash, maybe. But Nash also, too, had a huge impact on the game at the time as well with the 7 seconds or less. That aspect of the game. It's a hard question, man. It really is a tough question. But I think Brunson's going to have to add some more individual accolades, even though the team success in his career, going back to the 2 championships of Villanova, it's what makes him unique, because it's not about the individual status for him. It's about winning a championship and playing his best when everything is on the line, right? That's what makes Jalen Brunson unique. He's a clutch player. He's an unselfish player. He's he's got a lot of heart, but he's not super emotional about it, right? And he can impact the game with his playmaking as well as his clutch scoring. And he's not even, I know everyone says he's a bad defender. He may not be a great defender, but I also don't think he's a sieve either, or a cone, like some of these other, great players that we've seen through the years. Because I actually think he puts out effort on that end of the floor. I don't want to say
I do agree with this premise. Chris, the biggest thing that we talk about.
He's Derek Jeter. He's on his way to being Derek Jeter. Jalen Brunson, listen, on his way to being Derek Jeter in this aspect. Derek Jeter never won a league MVP, right? But who would you want on your postseason roster going into the postseason, going into the October? Derek Jeter or Alex Rodriguez?
I mean, Derek Jeter.
Answer my questions.
But Derek Jeter. But here's the perspective. That's baseball. But I'm going to stick to basketball just really quick.
Okay,
I appreciate the analogy. Okay. I appreciate the analogy. But what I want to get at is what we always talk about, Chris.
Yeah.
And we haven't talked about it in a little while, actually. We haven't talked about it since Jimmy Butler was in the finals. And that was 2023, I believe.
And 2020.
And 2020. But the most recent time was 2023. And we always question if Jimmy Butler can be the best player on a championship team. And the guys that are the best players on championship teams are the guys that we revere the most. And of course, now Brunson is definitively one of those guys, right? Like Dwayne Wade in his 06 run, Bill Walton in his run, Isaiah Thomas in his run. Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah.
Even Rick Barry with the Warriors at 26 years old himself.
Yeah.
Like they're,
Magic
obviously
Johnson.
Jordan, Magic, Bird, Kobe,
Yeah.
Shaq, like
Yeah.
Duncan, like
Olajuwon, 94, 95.
Olajuwon,
Yeah.
like those players are the players that go into the inner sanctum of the Hall of Fame. Guys like David Robinson, Patrick Ewing, Charles Barkley, like those, Steve Nash, Jason Kidd, James Harden, Luka.
Yeah, and the
for
thing,
now, until he wins one, right?
And by the way, somebody pointed something else out when they were talking about ranking Jalen Brunson next to the other great Knicks, and I want to point this out because you could apply this argument to other players. Patrick Ewing never had another All-NBA player on his squad. He had all-star caliber players. Allen Houston made an all-star team, fringe all-star player, Latrell Sprewell in the later years of Ewing's career. But if you look at those years, especially going back to 94, who else did Patrick play with that was a bona fide number 2, right? Oakley, Mason were guard dogs. They weren't supremely talented. Greg Anthony was a nice player, former, UNLV running Reb, national champion, but he never made an all-star team. John Starks, hardworking player, had a nice NBA career, established himself from nothing. Ewing did everything on his own. And yeah, people are like, oh, he lost in the finals. Right. But Pat had to do a lot more heavy lifting, right? And you could say that too about Charles Barkley. You could say that too about other great players. Whereas in Brunson's case, these guys that he has played with, Karl Anthony Towns is an established all-star caliber center, and even through all his defensive flaws and, you mentioned the Jimmy Butler situation in Minnesota and whatnot. The fact is you can never really deny the fact that this guy is good for 20 and 10 on most nights. And what he showed in this series in particular, and throughout the playoff run, but in this series in particular, was the evolution of being a good finesse, offensive-minded player to a fucking dog. And he reminded me so much, Chaz, of what Pau Gasol meant to the Lakers runs in 09 and 10 after losing in 08 in the finals to the Lakers, and even those years in Memphis getting swept out of the playoffs where the reputation of being soft, being finesse, what I mean? And I thought Cat fell into that mode.
You talk about that. Is Jalen Brunson at least the greatest Knick to you, or is that still Patrick Ewing?
That's, to me, he's tied for second. To me, he's tied for second. Tied
for second.
Yeah. Pat is number 1. Even Rick Brunson, his former teammate, said it in front of Jalen, by the way, after Jalen was hoisting up the Finals MVP trophy. And then I would say he's tied with Clyde Frazier. He's better than Willis, though. Better than Willis Reed.
Oh, fucking shit.
Tied for second, dude. Are we just going to dismiss what those Knicks teams meant to New York and the NBA as a whole under Red Holtzman and Phil Jackson, Bill Bradley, Dave?
It's very obvious what we're watching in Jalen Brunson compared to what those guys did. The game has completely evolved and changed. It's almost unfair to compare 73 basketball to 26 basketball, right? Because the gap is so large, right? We're not talking about.
Yeah, I know. I got you.
The way the game is played. So for Jalen Brunson to go up against somebody like Wemby, number one, nobody like Wemby has ever played the game.
Sure, I got you.
So like to take Wemby on a double move from the elbow down to the lower baseline and bump him hard enough to get your layup off, to freeze him enough to get 2 points in the last 2 minutes of a game 5 closeout game when you have 43 points is as impressive to me as somebody like Patrick Ewing
going up against Jordan and the Bulls. Reggie and the Pacers, but
losing.
So in the Miami Heat,
but losing, Chris, at the end of the day.
And how many fellow All-Stars did he play with early in his career?
At the end of the day, I don't think the Knicks are made up of a bunch of all-star players as well right now, at least. Like they had two Cat is an all-star, but it's like, but
he's not a fringe all-star. Cat's a perennial all-star caliber player. How many all-star appearances did Allen Houston have? I can only really count one in 98. right?
I
And
mean,
Latrell Sprewell.
the Knicks haven't been good in general in 100 years.
Well,
so
from
like
01 to from 01 to like 2024, I'd tell you that.
no, I'm
for
just
sure.
saying. No, I'm just saying. Like the Knickerbocker franchise.
Oh yeah, they've been dog meat for a long time. I got you. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
that's all I'm saying.
So the standard is a little bit different than, let's say, the Lakers or the Celtics, where I think that you can have more robust conversation. Like, is Larry better than Bill Russell? Is Kobe better than Magic and Kareem? Is Kareem better than, Jerry West? You know what I'm saying? Like, what is the measuring stick? Because also, too, it's different eras. And even Michael Jordan was always nuanced enough to say, like, when people call me the GOAT, it makes me uncomfortable because I never played against Jerry or Julius Erving or Bill Russell or any of these other guys, Oscar Robertson.
When Chris, you go by, like, as good as the Knicks were in 70 and 73, those teams never went on a run that these Knicks went on. And there weren't as many games played to not only get to the finals or win the championship.
And the style was
matter.
different, sure. And the style was different, obviously.
So I'm like, not only the competition, the amount of games, the entire season, the pressure, the broadcast, the social media aspect. Like, I mean, there's, in my opinion, it's not. In my opinion, it's not even close. Not only is this the greatest Knicks team of all time, but Jalen Brunson is by far, just with this one run alone, because the Knicks have only won 3 championships in their entire history of the franchise. This one means more than those other 2 currently as it stands, because it's been that long. And for all the reasons I stated. Now, before we move forward,
that's totally fine. I still stand on mine because I also like to respect. I like to respect the past and what those guys. And maybe we couldn't appreciate it as much because it's been a long time since Patrick Ewing or Clyde Frazier played on an NBA floor.
It's only because like I just said, the evolution of the game,
points taken,
and how long it's been.
That's points taken, and it's a good point. I'm not saying you're necessarily wrong per se. I also just don't think he's ready to make that jump just on one championship. Now, if he gets another one, yep, I got you. Sorry, Pat. Sorry, Clyde. And those suits.
Let's go to the other side real quick, Chris.
Yes, sir.
I don't want to spend too much time on this because this is the losing side, even though Wemby is a great player.
Yeah.
He didn't shake hands. He walked right off the court. There are a slew of other players that lost the finals and didn't shake hands or anything like that.
Yeah. I was looking them up yesterday, by the way. It happens a lot more than you think.
Exactly. And the one that makes that I vividly remember was the 2010 Lakers. Not because the Celtics maybe didn't want to shake hands or anything like that, but the celebration of the Lakers and LA was so immense that they just have to just walk off the floor. You know, like you can't go around shaking hands when everybody's rushing the court and people trying to put up yellow tape and this and that. So I'm just going to state my case on it. I don't think it's a big deal, but I would have liked to see him do it.
Sure.
I would have liked to see him do it. Does it matter as much to me? No. In part because it's part of that edge that makes him Wemby, and also the same guy that forced the All-Star game to be what it was this past year and what it's going to be moving forward as well. So I can't praise that and knock that at the same time. So that's why I'm going to say it's not that big of a deal. But at the same time, if you ask me would I have liked to see it, yes.
We like to see good sportsmanship. You know, I think you said it right. On the one hand, you want to see the good sportsmanship. On the other hand, you like the fact that not everybody needs to be buddy-buddy. I also think that no one's talking about this. The atmosphere and the where the game is at during a championship matters. 2009, the Lakers won in Orlando, and they dribbled out the final seconds. Dwight Howard and Jameer Nelson and those guys walked straight to the bench. Stan Van Gundy came over. He shook Phil Jackson's hand, and that was it. And I think he shook a few of the players' hands. That was it, right? Lakers lost in 2008 in Boston, the 39-point massacre, right? All the players walked off. Doc Rivers shook Kobe's hand, and that was it. Paul Pierce didn't. Ray didn't. KG, who's friends with Kobe, didn't. This whole crap about Draymond Green, you got to look your killer in the eye. Hey, killer, last I checked in 2016, when LeBron and Cleveland took that ring off your finger, you and Steph walked straight off the court. Now, in 2019, when Kawhi and them got you guys because of Durant and Clay going down, he did shake Kawhi's hand, and Kyle Lowry and Fred VanVleet and those guys. So I got to give Draymond and Steph credit on that. But the context of the game, of where the game is at, usually matters. LeBron came off the floor in the final seconds of 2015, and he shook Steph's hand, and Steve Kerr went back to the bench. So my point is, 2015, when
2018, he shook the whole team's hand before.
Oh, yeah. Well, that was the sweep. Yeah. So like I said, context of a game, a blowout, a comfortable lead in the final seconds matters. I think there's more of an opportunity to shake the other team's hands. But if the game is still undecided and then everybody is mobbing on the court, it is hard to get a handshake in there. 98, Jordan, they're mobbing him. Antoine Carr, I think, was the only one, the Bulldog from Wyoming, was the only one that shook Phil and Michael's hands. Karl Malone and John Stockton walked off the court. However, Karl did go on the team bus, as you could see in The Last Dance, and shook everyone's hand. My point is, the celebratory nature of it, like you were alluding to, I think matters. Whereas in the other 3 rounds, there's more of an opportunity after a series to go shake each other's hands, hug it out, jersey exchange, whatever you do. And then who knows what these guys are doing in the tunnel and whatnot, But yeah, it does, on the surface, look bad for Wemby. However, I still think he falls, and I want you to comment on this, way short of what, let's say, Isaiah Thomas did in the 91 Eastern Conference Finals. Not only walking off the court before the game was done, walking past the Bulls bench and not even looking or acknowledging Michael or Scotty or any of the other Bulls players. That, to me, is the ultimate sign of disrespect, and Wemby fell way short of that. Thoughts?
Yeah. Yeah, it wasn't that
egregious.
It wasn't that. It wasn't that bad, man. It's really not that big of a deal. I had a hard time even putting this in the rundown, but I just had to speak on it because I feel that it's really not that big of a deal. Like it was the last thing that I noticed in watching the end of it. It's like, okay, like this isn't, God, you don't have to shake hands.
No, of course
you
not.
Don't have to.
And you don't have to do it right then and there on the court. We don't know if these guys are doing it in the locker room.
I was just about to say that. You saw Tim Duncan and LeBron in that famous exchange. This is going to be your league in a few years, but thanks for letting us get this one.
Magic, Michael hugging in 91.
Or even when exactly, Magic, or no, it was Jordan and Bird after the 98 finals when
conference finals,
or conference finals, and he's like, you bitch, fuck you.
You're right about that too. But if you go back to 91, Magic, and I think he went into the Bulls locker room and actually hugged Michael Jordan, and James Worthy in 89 when the Lakers were swept by the Pistons and it was their first championship, part of their back-to-back. He went into the Pistons locker room and shook everyone's hands as well. So there are moments where things like that happen. You saw De'Aaron Fox with Mike Brown as well. So do we know for sure Wemby did not say anything to the Knicks players? And then one more point on this too is he's 22. It's frustrating to lose when you felt like you had every opportunity to win. And, maybe there is a bit of an arrogance or whatnot. It's a humbling moment, but it's hard to come to grips with that right then and there. And I think sometimes we have to just offer a little bit of grace to some of these guys, because I think Wemby is a good dude. He's a fierce competitor. He hates to lose and whatnot. And sometimes you just say and do things in the moment that maybe in a few months from now, he's going to look back and say, I could have handled that better. So I agree with you. We should just get off of him.
He's fucking 22. Really quick, just before we get out of here, we'd be remiss if we didn't touch on, as exciting as the Knicks winning the championship is, I do find it almost as equally exciting is to talk about what can possibly happen. There are rumors heating up ahead of the draft, Chris, and July 1 will be here faster than you can say pigs on a blanket. Trae Young declined his $48.9 million option with the Wizards. Talk is he's going to sign back with the Wizards for a little bit more, 5 years, blah, blah, blah.
More years.
But he technically could go wherever he wants because he's unrestricted. Giannis, we've talked about that at nauseum. Chris, it is the worst unkept secret in the league. Giannis is going to the Miami Heat. It's just a matter of what vehicle he uses to get there. Do they use a third team? Do they use a fourth team? Do they put him on a plane? Do they put him on a bus? Do they pack all his bags with his kids, or do they wait to send the kids later? He's going to Miami. It is a foregone conclusion. I've been saying it for ever since the trade deadline. I've been saying it for a very long time. Giannis loves Miami. There are other smoke screens out there because you can't just pick one team anymore. It's almost sanctimonious to say, hey, I want to go there, but that's where he wants to go. That's where he's going to go. It's just a matter of where he goes. Chris, and lastly, Jaylen Brown. Rumor is Jaylen Brown might be a part of that trade if Giannis goes to the Boston Celtics, or even Jaylen Brown going to the Bucks, Giannis going to the Heat, and the Celtics. I don't know who the Celtics would come up with, but I've seen some iterations of that as well. I don't think that would happen, but talk is Jaylen Brown is on, and more than likely, in my opinion, and we'll talk about Bron, when it comes to free, like most guys just end up staying. You know,
they do. Except in this instance, it kind of feels like a bridge too far, especially for Giannis. I don't know what's going on with Jaylen Brown and the Celtics or whatnot. Do they feel like, they keep manufacturing the situation with him and Jason Tatum? Listen, you guys have been to, 2 finals together. You won a championship together. You guys have practically lived in the Eastern Conference Finals since Jason Tatum got into this league. So, like, what the hell are y'all whining about? Suck it up and play better. But yeah, Jaylen has made some comments that have left you, as Arsenio Hall once said, things that make you go, And that's been Jaylen Brown this offseason. As far as Giannis goes, I think, I know there's talks that because of Taylor Jenkins being there, could they be in the market to trading for Ja Morant and then convincing Giannis to stay in Milwaukee and making that work with Ja? I just think it's done. Him in Milwaukee. Do you really want to try this whole Dame Lillard 2.0 type experiment when that really didn't work for you last time? I think Giannis to Boston seems likely, and it seems like that makes sense for Milwaukee as well, to getting a guy like Jaylen Brown in return. I think OKC has an outside shot, but I don't think they're ready to give up on Chet and that young core quite yet after losing Game 7, not healthy in the Western Conference Finals.
You think any other team realistically has a shot at Giannis other than Miami?
Miami, I would say Cleveland has some assets, but they have assets. You're going to say that they don't have assets, that they could put together an attractive package for to get Giannis?
You always forget, Chris, whenever we do this exercise, every single
you just want me to agree with you and not create any more context or options.
No, I want you to do that, but still come back to the realization of what matters most isn't the assets. It's where the player, when the players, and that's been the difference in our mentality about this every single year. This time of year comes about. These players control more than you think. Just because Masai Ujiri went all in on Kawhi and got it out the mud and got his championship because he decided to take a big swing and trade for him, knowing that he didn't want to go there and he wasn't on his list, does not mean that it's going to work for anybody else. And it hasn't.
Fair enough.
And it won't. These players, I'm not just talking to you. I'm talking in general.
I got to put my Chris Russo. Fair enough.
But I'm just saying, like, these players dictate where, like, as
Anthony Davis in particular. Yeah.
You could have as many assets as the moon, but if the player doesn't want to sign there long term, you're not because you're not going to get these assets back. And if you can't re-sign him and you lose him for nothing, or then you try and trade him and then create a messy on messy situation where you give up assets and have to turn around and trade him in the same 365 days because he doesn't want to re-sign with you after that year, what are you going to do? So
I just think Giannis also has to understand the business of basketball as well. And an organization also has to do what's right for them in addition to doing what's right for the player, which I think John Horst and the ownership are going to do right by Giannis, no matter how this thing plays out, where everyone is going to leave the theater grinning at the end of the day. So what I'm saying is these are the options that make the most sense for both sides, is what I'm saying, because he will go to a different situation that has an established all-star player or two, and he could either build a trifecta or a team that's fairly deep. But we still don't know what these packages are truly going to look like. And does he truly want to go to Boston or Miami? To me, those teams are going to be 1 and 2 as far as the wish list for Giannis. So we shall see what happens. I don't know. And then Michael Wilbon saying that I'd rather have Tyler Hero because he's more reliable than Giannis and the game has passed him by. Come on, Wilbon. Bro, that's some blasphemous shit right there. You know, I mean, I like Tyler Hero too, but you're putting him in the same.
That. Yeah, Giannis is not. He's an MVP, but he's not a back-to-back MVP, is he?
Yes, he is.
He is a back to MVP. Yeah,
2019 and 2020, I believe.
So Giannis, Jokic, and SGA are all back-to-back.
That is correct. Yeah, all non-American, by the way.
And somehow like Embiid snuck in there and got one. You know,
it's funny. Embiid won it the same year Jokic should have probably won it, and then Jokic won it during a year that Embiid should have gotten it.
Yeah. Well,
anyways, it all worked
that leads us to the guy who probably should have the most MVPs of all time of the league. He only has 4, but he probably should have 7 or 8, in my opinion, given how many years that he's played and been the best player. He's still even an all-NBA player right now, and that's LeBron James. And, what do you know? The sky is blue, Chris. I've been saying this as well. I'm just right on a lot on this show.
Okay, Chris Camello.
The rumors are on this one, LeBron James is going to sign back with the Lakers. Shocker. Guy's out on a golfing trip right now on his 10th anniversary of the Cleveland Cavaliers team. Meanwhile, J.R. Smith is talking about how the Cavaliers haven't even invited him back, and he won a ring for that team over a decade ago. You think LeBron James is going to go back there for his last year potentially, or last 2 years? I don't think so. He's coming back with the Lakers. It's just a matter of what number they can decide on for both sides. That's good. We still got to get Austin Reeves' number. And everybody that's talking about Austin Reeves asking for the max just because he asked for the max doesn't mean he'll get it. But if he's eligible for it and he thinks he's worth it, Chris, wouldn't you ask for the moon if you could?
Absolutely.
Whether you get it or not is a completely different thing, right? But
I think Austin, of course, everyone's gonna want to get, and I agree, people should get the most money that they can, especially in a business that can be very fleeting. Injuries, that could derail you. And we've seen plenty of guys, lose millions of dollars. Ask DeMarcus Cousins what happened after, tearing I think it was his ACL and then eventually tearing his Achilles. And he never made the kind of money. He still probably made a lot, but never compared to what he was going to make had he hit free agency that one year with, I think it was in 2018 with the New Orleans Pelicans at the time. So, unfortunately these things happen. And, Austin has to do what's best for Austin. But at the same point in time, I could see a personality like that, not far from Jalen Brunson, offering to say, you know what? I am still making a lot of money. It's still a pay increase, right? I could maybe lock in for 3 years, maybe have an option for a 4th year, and then do this again. And, when I'm 32 or whatever, maybe get one more big payday in the second half of my career. And I could see him doing that because I think also Austin is not super greedy. I think Austin is in the business of winning. And I don't think he's a guy that's looking to get every last cent. If that was the case, I think he would have left the Lakers back in 2023, and even the contract that he got at the time was still a version of a pay cut because let's have enough money to re-sign Rui Hachimura. Let's re-sign this guy and that guy and everything like that. So, I could see Austin doing that.
I think 90% of the time, LeBron James has taken as much money as he could, at least about 90% of the time.
With the exception of maybe those years with the Miami Heat. I think that was
I'm sorry. As a Laker, in the 8 years he's been a Laker, he's probably 7 of those years he's taken the absolute max that he could.
He probably has. I mean, listen, you can't if
give or take $1 million or $2 million.
If LeBron was not, putting up the types of numbers that he was, or if he was a shell of himself, similar to, maybe the last few years of Kobe Bryant's career post Achilles tendon, then obviously there'd be more reason for gripe. I think what people have wanted LeBron to do is, dude, you've been in this league so long, you've had all these max contracts and whatnot. If you're still this is the narrative attached to LeBron. If you're so concerned about winning and you're a net billionaire already based on the businesses, why do you still need to make a lot of money when we need to sign other guys to get paid to surround you with enough talent to win? That's been the narrative with LeBron James.
Because my pension is my pension, and damn it, I'm entitled to make as much money as I can, because even though I've been in the league 23 years, I still have once I'm done, I'm done. I can't make that NBA money anymore. So
it's a trade-off, Chaz. And now with this apron system, I mean, the salary cap was already constricting as it is, but now you have this apron situation that's really, really constricting. And it's one of the reasons why we've had 8 different champions over the last 8 years. It's just very difficult to repeat. It's very difficult to sustain. And obviously injuries have a lot to do with that too during the postseason run. And it is more of a war of attrition than a war of talent. That's a hot take that no one's really talking about. The healthiest team will usually find themselves 1 or 2 of the last teams standing. In the Lakers' case, they have to be very diligent with how they approach this offseason. And to be quite honest with you, the safe bet and the most likely bet is the core of this team is going to run it back. I think Austin stays. I think LeBron stays. I think, Rui Hachimura more than likely stays, but I could see them maybe going toward a different route on that. I don't think it's a guarantee. I would like to see them get a guy like a Bobby Portis. I heard, Milwaukee wants to unload somebody I'm like, that's the kind of piece that I would like to see on this team. He could bring him up off the bench, good backup big, 4 or 5 combo, So I think the question is, what's the rest of the makeup of the roster going to look like? And are they going to go younger? Are they going to go older? Are they going to try to improve through the draft? What can you get for Vando and Connect if you try to put them on the open market or, try to shop them? That's going to be the bigger questions.
A second round pick.
And that's sad.
Between the both of them.
And that's sad if you can't land, let's say, for example, I don't know.
No, that's
Cam Johnson.
That's what happens when you don't play your players and you don't develop them. So
I would say definitely the latter for sure. But yeah, that's the thing. If you could net some of these guys, like I said, if you could get a Cam Johnson who did not have a great season for Denver for Vando and Connect, that's pretty damn good to me. Somebody like that, somebody like a Bobby Portis, somebody who could come in, bring some edge, bring some intensity, bring some experience, right? And still shore up the flaws of your team. Not to mention, Chaz, you're not going to survive in this Western Conference if you don't have guys who could play both ways for you. And that's another issue that is a concern if you run it back with Austin, LeBron, and Luka.
Yeah.
And I'm going to ask one more question. Is what we saw in March from the Lakers, 16-2, just a flash in the pan, too small of a sample size, or a foreshadowing of what could be if everyone stays healthy over the course of 82 games?
It's a foreshadowing of what it could be if you can get a consistent big man outside of DeAndre Ayton. If you can shore up that center position
and the bench,
then the bench, of course, but specifically the center position, because starters play more minutes than the bench. If you can shore that up, you got 3 players. If you can get LeBron, Luka, and Austin on the floor together, if you can keep them together and keep them healthy, you just need a solid big man and another wing defender. Obviously the bench goes without saying, but primarily if you can get consistent play out of that, that's what these teams have. It's consistent play. Like
Mhm.
Hardenstein is not a starter, but damn it, he's a consistent player for them for OKC, right? Obviously Wemby, obviously, guys like even Miles Turner when he was in
Indiana.
Indiana, just a consistent player, regardless of if he played well or not, he was going to make at least a couple threes, be a force inside, and play some, and be a big body, and be effective. Like there's
not a star mentality, but capable of playing like a star, similar to the New York Knicks. OG,
exactly.
Hart, and Bridges are not stars, but they were capable of playing like stars. You know what I mean? Austin Reeves to me is not a superstar, but he's capable of having those nights, where he could take over a game and help you win a ball game. As we saw OG Anunoby do for the New York Knicks. So I hear what you're saying. And the question is, who is that guy? A lot of people believe it's Walker Kessler. And now that he may be in the middle of a falling out with the Utah Jazz, that could be somebody available. And the Lakers have made some deals with trader Danny Ainge and the Jazz in recent years. The Russell Westbrook trade that netted them Vanderbilt and who else was it? Malik Beasley and those guys. So we'll see what happens, man. It's going to be a very intriguing offseason. Starts next week with the NBA draft. And I'm sure next Wednesday's show, dude, is going to be lit. Not only going to be talking about the draft, but any potential trades that are going to be happening between now and then.
Exactly. Lots of trades that could possibly happen. So keep your eyes and your ears peeled and wide open. Tap in with us next week when we get on the Outlet Forum. We appreciate you guys tapping in with us. Another great evening of NBA hoops. We are the New York Knicks, are the NBA champions of the NBA world, Chris. I cannot believe that we're saying that for the first time in our lifetime. But that is the reality. We will see you guys next week. Chris, tell them where they can follow you, big dog.
At Chris_Camello on X, CCamello1 on IG. Follow us at the Outlet Forum on X and YouTube, as well as on Instagram. And by the way, Jazz, real quick, shout out Lawrence Tanner, the longtime arena announcer voice, known for that bass baritone. You thought it was Barry White sometimes talking. Has officially retired. He's taken a new position within the organization, but he's not going to be. I know he's had some health issues this past year, but he will no longer be that iconic PA announcer voice that we used to see at so many Laker home games, going back to the Forum in the late 70s and early 80s. So shout out to LT, man. The Laker girls. I mean, just iconic voice, Chaz.
Laker. Man, love Lawrence Tanner, man. Well, we appreciate you guys. We will see you next week. Draft time, trade time, free agency time. Best time of the year. We'll see you guys next time.